Hey, what's happening? Jason Woodland back again with Always the Journey TV, episode number 48. So excited to be back, rock and rolling these really cool interviews. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about some rock and roll. So anyway, I just wanted to re-up on this. The reason for this is to spotlight people out here in the community, to learn more about their businesses, their jobs, their artwork, their side hustles, their event space, and everything in between. I sincerely appreciate you spending your time watching these interviews. And if you're so inclined, throw us a thumbs up on the content if you enjoy it, which I know you do. And also throw us a subscribe on the channel. I would sincerely appreciate that. So anyway, I've got a couple of small business shout outs. The first one is to Koyo, which is at 2275 East, 3300 South. It's a restaurant. Go and check them out. That would be in the Holladay Mill Creek area. And then also to my friend Justin Leader from JC Pro Design. So I'm really excited. He just hooked up a Woodland Advisors hat, got these new hats in. If you need any promotional products, you literally name it. Anything under the sun, he can handle it. He does all kinds of stuff for, well, everybody under the sun. So keep him in mind. Today, I'm extremely excited about introducing to you my friend Trent Falcone. He was born and raised in Holladay, Utah. After the random discovery of a Kiss bubblegum card at the age of 5, by the way, Kiss is a phenomenal band, his path was set to live a life based on creating, performing, and marketing music. Trent spent his early teen years in the Salt Lake hardcore scene, not only playing in local bands, but getting his start in the business of music by hanging flyers for hardcore shows in local record shops, unloading gear and working for touring bands, booking his own benefit shows, and doing anything and everything to learn the trade. 30 years later, Trent is now the marketing director for Live Nation Salt Lake, previously known as United Concerts, one of Utah's first and oldest independent concert promoters. Of his 30-year career, he's marketed and promoted hundreds of events and concerts, from club shows to sold-out arenas. He currently records and sings with his band, Villain, spends his time seeking out new music, reading rock biographies, collecting music memorabilia, and he's about to join a new radio talk show based on everything music. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce to you my dear friend, Trent Falcone. What's happening, my man?
What's up, man?
Just rocking and rolling, dude. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, although I haven't been able to see the sun yet today all that much. So,
oh dang,
working away. Haven't made it outside, so we'll look at that backdrop there.
Yeah, you like that? Well, we can look at the backdrop and get some of that sun.
There you go.
Nice. So, yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit and learn a little bit more about you, your biz, and what you got going on. So, first of all, tell us a little bit more about your inspiration behind all of this. I mean, you're heavily involved in music. You always have been. You've been the singer of a few different bands. Obviously, you're in the business of music on a day-to-day basis. And outside of that, of the Kiss cards that you found at the age of 5, what are some of the other inspirations that got you involved?
Oh man, my parents, right? Like most of us who love music. My dad was is a music fanatic. Always has been. So, it was just I was used to being around music and hearing it growing up, and amazing some of the stuff I was kind of exposed to early on. I almost forgot that I enjoyed it, right? I mean, it was, my dad loves jazz, and played a lot of what the bands you would expect, the classic bands, Zeppelin and Elton John and the Beatles, and so in my mind I always kind of think that Kiss was sort of my first band, but that's not actually true. I mean, I was surrounded by music, from the jump.
Yeah.
And that just led me, it just kind of just grabbed a hold of me early on, like all of us, I think all of our little circle that we know, right? The hardcore guys. I mean, it's the same story, right? Just almost obsessed with music. It's always been the case. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, as we've talked about music, you know, same thing. My mom got me involved in music when I was a little kid, and you know, she had a phenomenally huge record collection. In
yeah.
fact, her record collection dwarfed mine.
You
And
still have it? Did you
oh,
keep it?
absolutely.
Good, good.
Yeah, I haven't sold one piece ever.
Awesome. That's good. You shouldn't either.
No, I won't. I've got a handful of things on, you know, in the frames downstairs in the hallway and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom gave me the record, the Curtis Mayfield Superfly soundtrack when I was in 5th grade for my birthday,
Right.
and it was just awesome.
I
So
remember getting some bizarre records I just after we actually, when we had tea the other day
yeah,
and started talking about music and how we got into it, and I started remembering things that I totally forgot about. I got like some of the most bizarre records when I was a little kid, like a young kid, like things that I forget, Adam and the Ants and the Police and just the most all over the map, like an Eddie Rabbit record. I'm not even entirely sure why, right? And Boston and just yeah, and the Clash. Just like the Easter Bunny brought me the Clash, combat rock, and I don't even remember how old I was, but it's like wow, yeah, it's crazy. I
oh
do
my
not have
gosh.
them anymore. I played them to death. I destroyed them. So it was probably like the first pressing too, which is unfortunate, but
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a piece of information that you're probably going to be disappointed with me on. But remember the Kiss they weren't the self-titled, but they were the the Ace Frehley had the Face record and
the solo records, yeah.
exactly. So I had all 4 of them, and I traded 2 of them for the Megadeth record, So Far So Good So What, when it first came out, to
Which
Starbound
two?
Records.
Which two did you trade?
Um, it may have been Ace Frehley and Peter Criss.
That's acceptable.
Okay.
An acceptable trade. Absolutely acceptable. I think I'd make that trade.
It's funny.
All day.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
really,
Cool.
to be honest, though, you probably got screwed a little bit. You probably could have just given him the Peter Criss record.
I agree. I think I was like 7, just this little kid, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get that new Megadeth record. So
Great album. Great album.
that is awesome.
Peace Sells is that's one of the first metal records that I really obsessed over.
Oh yeah.
Great era.
Was it Peace Sells, Who's Buying or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It was like ...
Yeah, it was that was my Metallica and then my thrash metal era, Metallica and Megadeth and Overkill and Anthrax.
DRI.
Yeah, DRI. I had a very strange path. I went from, again, remembering I got these Adam and the Ant records or Ants records to, I remember getting, buying DRI on cassette.
Yeah.
And Cro-Mags and, for some reason, like the punk stuff didn't appeal to me as much. I started to kind of, because of the metal background, I always liked the hardcore stuff more. So, Circle Jerks and, some of that didn't really appeal to me as much as the metal, but like Suicidal Tendencies, the first Suicidal record. And, the death of Megadeth and Megadeth, that all got me into the punk, into the hardcore stuff, which kind of, then got me into all that New York hardcore and, the class, the stuff we're obsessed with, Youth of Today and Gorilla Biscuits, my whole teenage years were, spent obsessing over those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Integrity, all that stuff. Still absolutely love it. Although Integrity we discussed over tea. You got to be in the mood for that.
You got to be in the mood for it.
and you probably can't have a lot of people around you in the house, right? That's not even people that like heavy music, I've had the Integrity on, and they're like, "What in the hell are we listening to?" It's like, all right, cool, we'll take that off.
It's all good.
Good stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man. Okay. So United Concerts turns into Live Nation. You've been working the concert business forever. I mean, I remember when you were promoting shows like all the way back in the 90s, and I mean, you had a passion for it. You had a passion for helping bands and promoting bands and trying to get people out to see new music and that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit more about that kind of work. Like, what does that look like? Because I mean, you're marketing director of Live Nation Salt Lake.
Yeah. Well, you know, back in the day, oh, look at that. There it is. You know, it started, you know, selfish reasons, right? I wanted to be in a band. So we put reality together, and, you know, I wanted to play shows. So it seemed, not that we didn't get asked to do shows, but it just kind of became evident, especially back then, you could put your own shows on. So I just established relationships with all the club owners. You know, Club Deviate was kind of a little bit later, but you know, it just was almost essential to do it yourself. And then, you know, the next era was suspension of disbelief, and I really enjoyed being able to do shows and then, you know, have a cause behind it. So we did all those, you know, Christmas benefit shows, and we would have people bring food and donate all the proceeds to, you know, shelters or whatever. And it was brilliant because, right, you know, back in the day, not to sound like old guy, right, but back in the day, it was unbelievable that you could do a show, in my memory, almost every other weekend. It seemed like we played all the time, or there were shows all the time, and there were always hundreds of kids that would show up. So it just seemed to make sense to one day, you know, like, so, you know, if 600 kids show up and they all bring a can of food, that's a pretty good donation.
That's a phenomenal donation.
You know, and so it just kind of went from there, and it became a tradition. And over the years, I would just get all those great bands from back in the day. You know, we're all buddies. And so, yeah, we would just kind of do the shows, and it just kind of became a thing. But, you know, prior to that, I really got my start with, you know, the local punk shows, the local hardcore shows, you know, Jason Farrell. Mm-hmm. I've been friends with for 30 years. And he's really the guy that, you know, he was kind of just starting out, and he was doing shows at Deviate and the Fair Park. And again, these weird memories that can come back to me. Like, I don't even remember how I got involved with them. I think I just one day at a show said, "Hey, I want to do this. You know, what do you need help with?" Mm-hmm. And it literally turned into, okay, you know, show up, and I did everything. You know, I was a runner, and I helped load equipment in, then it kind of got into the marketing, and it was like before we really, you know, like I think we were trying to figure out how to use a fax machine, you know, like okay, you know, it was a while ago. You know, marketing was essentially just trying to flyer the city and go to Raunch and you know, Metal Shop. But it was great. It really kind of taught me every angle of it. And, you know, one of my best shows, it's one of my best memories. It's the famous Rage Against the Machine show it's an American Fork.
Yeah.
Fork. You know, that was our show, and I was the production manager, and I didn't know what a production manager was at that point. So, you know, Jason and I kind of still talk about that. Like we were kind of winging it, but it went down. Obviously, it's one of the Salt Lake, you know, it's a Salt Lake legend, that show. Or a Utah legend, rather. It was awesome. And then that just led me down the path. You know, I've worked in radio promotions, and I had a stint with the, you know, the Jazz Arena. I don't remember what it was called at the time. I think I was there Delta Center and Vivint years, or the Energy Solutions years, doing marketing and doing concert marketing and event marketing. And yeah, now Live Nation Salt Lake, which just sort of turned into a regional thing now. it looks as if I'll be expanding a little bit and going into other markets now with that. So that's really exciting, and especially for somebody like me, that's it. Music is it. It's the, I can't imagine people that don't listen to music. It's just so valuable, to my life. So it's great.
Yeah, it is. And
right. I mean, after what we just went through, it's better than ever. I mean, it's absolutely better than ever to be back at it and busy. And what can you say?
yeah, and from what I understand, there may be a few concerts coming down the pipe, right?
Oh man, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. It's just crazy. I've had a few people comment, over the last few months, how much money they saved by not being able to go to shows in 2020. And it's like, well, okay, guess what? All of that money you saved, you're going to spend it in 2021 and 22. So good luck. Good luck with that. I hope you saved all that money that you would have saved going to shows. I hope you put it in the bank, because you're going to need it. If you're a music fan, you are going to need it. And it doesn't matter what genre.
Yeah.
God help you if you're people like us who like everything, who go across all genres, maybe you're going to be okay if you only listen to one specific type of music. Maybe that'll help you with the concert tickets that you have to come up with. But if you're a music fan, you're in trouble.
I love it.
Get a big calendar, because you're gonna need it.
Oh my gosh. And and the thing that that I've always appreciated about you, and we talked about it over tea the other day, is we are both like very, very open-minded when it comes to a multitude of different genres of music. I mean, as we were sitting there, we're like naming off the bands that are coming on the at the place, and it was just, and it's fun, and especially the kind of business you're in, being not only passionate, but having an understanding of all these different genres. It gives you a very unique edge on how to market that particular band or that type of music. Because in my opinion, I mean, marketing is really about it's all creativity, and it's all about passion on how to get attention. And so, tell us a little bit about your position with like creativity and sort of where some of that creativeness comes from.
Well, I mean, it's, in the past, it was perhaps a little easier you could maybe you had, how do I say this? You could get away with more, when it's a independent show or a smaller show.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger the band, the more rules and the more things you sort of have to follow, which unfortunately sometimes, it makes sense, but it sometimes limits how, creative or overboard you can go with things. And there's a reason for that. And, it makes sense, but in some ways it's the easiest thing to really market, because if you like music, if you love a band, you just have to remind people of that experience, right? You just have to remind them of what that feels like. And you either know that feeling, right? You either understand what I'm talking about or you don't. And if you understand it, it's easy to market to you. You just remind people of that feeling, right? That feeling they get when they see the band they loved since they were 10, or songs or whatever. I mean, it's so easy in some ways. Not to, now having said that, right, I'm simplifying it. It's very difficult to compete, right? There's a lot of competition, and there's competition for the dollar and time. People always think that it's just about budgets, right? It's absolutely not. You have to compete with people's time, right? They have busy lives, and they have things to do, and they have places to be. So you have to kind of combat their schedules, and that's the way to do it. I always try to remind myself as a fan, I go to minus 2020, I go to many, many shows during the year, working. Even bands that I don't necessarily love or don't necessarily care to see, or maybe I've seen them 7 times. I tend to try to go to everything that I've been involved with. And in 2019, I went to more shows in 2019 as a fan than I have in years, right? I mean, just these smaller old bands or newer indie bands or whatever. And I got to go as a fan. And it really just being a fan, being on that side of it where I had no tie to the show and I didn't have any responsibilities to the show. It was an unbelievable reminder of just how amazing it is to see live music. I mean, it's just the greatest thing ever. You know, it just connects with you. If it moves you, it just connects with you. So it makes my job very easy in some ways. You just have to remind people of that and the experience. The point of that story is I didn't go as many shows as I went to in 2019. I still, allowed myself to miss a few because I was tired. It was a Tuesday. Oh, I saw those guys 20 years ago. And now, of course, I regret it because, they're in your city for one evening, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do on that Tuesday night, maybe you should put it off. Do it Wednesday night and go see that band, because in many cases, they're probably not coming back, or maybe it will be several years before they come back. So, that's what I try to remind people. Don't forget how this music makes you feel. The experience of, even though you're hearing it, even though you listen to it, you can play the record, seeing it live, seeing the emotion, it just doesn't compare. So again, it makes it very easy. Or maybe I'm just a sucker for it. Maybe I'm just the perfect person to market to or market music to. But people connect. They get it. You can talk to people, right? Like you and I talking about it the other day. You can talk about it for hours, and it seems like you've only been together a few minutes, and suddenly 4 hours it's gone by, and you've talked about music, and you're interrupting each other to name the song that's playing in the PA or whatever. Or you can tell when you're talking to people about music and their attention starts to sort of fade a little bit. It's like, okay, but not everybody reacts the way we do. So
yeah.
My job is to try to to hit both. Like if you only like one song, we're going to try to get you to come to the show. And if you've loved this band for 20 years, you should try to come to the show. It's an amazing thing. It's one of the best jobs in the world. Again, to see people react to it is the best part. That's probably why I go to shows and I don't need to be there, just to see the reaction, how excited people are. It's unbelievable. I mean, you know that feeling. You've seen it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My mom started taking me to concerts actually back when it was United Concerts. So she took me to see, Def Leppard at the Old Salt Palace, LA Guns, Winger, Motley Crue, Iron Maiden. She took me to see a lot of those arena shows back in the 80s when like 20,000 people would show up and you'd have to stand in line for 2.5, 3 hours just to get into the building.
Yeah.
And, I'll never, ever forget those times. In fact, she took me to see Suicidal Tendencies in probably 1986 or 87. I was a little kid and she was not very amused. I can tell you that much. But she was wildly open-minded to, even the wildest things that I brought into the house. Well, not the wildest things, but pretty wild things. She was still pretty open-minded to. But man, yeah, you're right. There is an experience when you see live music. One of the more recent ones, I think it was in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when Seal came to town, and he played up at Red Butte, and he got into the crowd and would sing to people and give people hugs. And there's no other experience like that. When you've got this live music, you're standing with all these people and everybody is there for that reason. And everybody's almost like indirectly united because of that song or that beat or that lyric, or, you know, I mean, there's just so much about it.
No, it's unbelievable. I've over the years, that's how I try, or I have tried in the past, to sort of inspire members of my staff, you know, when they have to market a show for a band that they don't necessarily know, or maybe a genre they don't particularly like or enjoy, you know, that's what I tell them. I mean, remember that to somebody, to the 10,000 people that are going to come to this show, they've been waiting months to see this band, you know? And that's all you just have to remember that. It's an important, I mean, yeah, that what you just said, you know, to see people just elated, you know. I spend time with the first, you know, few minutes of every show. I'm generally with the media, if there's any media, and I'm in the front, you know, with the photographers or whatever. And, you know, to see people across genres, you know, again, things that I don't necessarily relate to, bands I don't relate to, but people, you know, with tears in their eyes, obviously know every word, you know, it's just, it's incredible. It's incredible to see it. And it makes it very easy. You just have to remember, like, yeah, this connects everybody. And there's nothing, I mean, again, man, you nailed it. There's nothing cooler than seeing thousands of people, you know, on cue, on the beat, you know, jumping, or they all are singing the chorus to something, or, I mean, it's incredible. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Well, you know, something else too. I mean, you know, maybe I'm a romantic about this too, and I obviously am speaking to the choir, but if you think about it, your job is literally about helping people live their dreams.
Yeah.
Someone who's in a band, who's touring nationally or internationally, your job is literally to help them continue living a dream they've possibly had since they were 7 years old. Being a singer of a band, or a drummer, or a, you know, saxophone player, a pianist, or whatever that instrument is, that is their dream to do that, and you're helping promote their dream. I mean, that's one of the best jobs in the world, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I also am very, you know, realistic about that. You're correct, but I also know that I'm not, you know, as I said, it's a pretty easy job. I'm not selling the tickets. The bands are selling the tickets, right? It's their music, it's the songs. I'm just letting people know that they're, you know, trying to make people aware that they're coming to town or whatever, but they make it very easy, you know. More important to me is the fact that, you know, you're selling, you're basically, your job is to create memories for people, experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, back to my 2019 story, you know, like, I can remember these shows, you know, just moments of these shows as a fan in 2019. Like, I don't remember how much I paid for the ticket. I don't remember what I was doing that day. I don't remember what I, you know, was trying to balance to go to the show, but I can remember the song I wanted to hear, you know. I won't forget that. It's unbelievable that we get to do that. You know, you basically are creating lifetime memories.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course, we could just go down this path forever.
Sure. Again, this is the coffee shop again. It's going to be the first episode that's 4 hours long.
Oh gosh, for real.
They've already clicked off. They've already exited. So,
you know, I mean, just to share, just to share like this one unique experience. We saw that Peter Gabriel was doing his 25-year anniversary of the record "So" down in Las Vegas. This is a handful of years ago, but every single song, you know, that's, I mean, just the classics that came through, and they were recording the music, the actual video, like the discography video, during this concert. So you're seeing all the you know, the tracks with the cameras on them and the lighting and all this kind of stuff is making this video at this live concert for the 25-year anniversary. And I mean, you cannot I mean, you just cannot replace that kind of an experience. And that's the kind of stuff that you're involved with for a living. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
just,
mean, many of those moments are once in a lifetime. They're
yep.
once in a lifetime. And I always am. I'm immediately. I mean, I'm like you said, you're a romantic about it. I am absolutely emotional about music, and it always goes through my mind when a musician dies. I'll tell you a good example: Eddie Van Halen.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Somehow in my life, I'd never seen Van Halen. And it always makes me incredibly disappointed when now it's like, that's it. I can remember back in the 90s, I was just, I was probably 18, right? You don't have a ton of money, whatever job I was working at the time. And Frank Sinatra came to the Delta Center. And obviously that was in his older years, right? Clearly not his prime by any means, I'm sure. But I remember seeing it for whatever strange reason. I think it was in Slug magazine, which is a bizarre choice to run a Frank Sinatra ad. Maybe that can't be accurate, but I remember thinking, I need to go see Frank Sinatra. But I think the tickets back then were, for an 18-year-old, they were out of my reach. I still regret that.
Yeah.
I still regret that,
Yeah,
because
without a doubt.
You only have so many opportunities to see these people. I've always told my staff, make time to, you don't have to be obsessive about it like I am. You don't have to come to every show. But man, if you are in this job, if you're in this industry and you do this for a living, you should make time to come and see all the bands. You should experience it. It doesn't matter if you don't like them, if you don't like metal, or if you don't like country, or you don't, whatever. If you're in this job, spend 15 minutes at the show and watch the crowd, and see who the audience is, see what the experience is, and see the bands. I've had many conversations in the past of, are you going to come to this show? Like, nah, I don't really like this band. Like, yeah, but they're legends. They're legends.
Yeah.
They're iconic, right? So you should check it out. Just watch 2 or 3 songs so you can say that you've seen them. And
yeah,
because man, people take. Do I even have to say that people take this sort of thing for granted after 2020? I mean, really?
Yeah.
That's how, I'll tell you what, I'm never going to stay home on a Tuesday again when there's a band in town that I want to see. I've made that commitment to myself. Like, take a nap and go see
nice.
them. Go see them.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can go, or you could go a year and a half with no shows again. So
yeah, what a wild experience this has all been. And obviously live entertainment, live shows, events, of course, were virtually the first to get unplugged, literally and figuratively. And we've got to not take that for granted.
Yeah, no, if ever, boy, talk about a life lesson. I'll tell you what. Yeah.
So on a little bit more of a granular scale, when you are the director of marketing, I've seen we've paused it a couple of times, but that's all good. That's just video these days. Are you guys actually building flyers? Are you putting together like radio commercials? Like, what does that look like as far as your day-to-day goes?
I mean, yeah, basically you're just, you really it's start to finish. Things are sort of evolving right now post-COVID. I think things are sort of changing a little bit. We're changing the way we do things, but yeah, I mean, essentially it's, from, you build a campaign and you execute all of it, and you have, great relationships with all the media and the press, and you just basically, I'm not actually, obviously we have people, and we have teams of people that help accomplish all of this because of the volume. But yeah, everything from ordering spots to putting together marketing plans, schedules for TV, radio spots, all that stuff. You're in communication with the band's management team and their agents, and some of them are very sort of, your market, do what you think. Others have very specific instructions on how they want things done, how they want to be marketed, and you just sort of work, and then you of course become familiar with agents and management, and you know what they want. So when you see certain names, you just know what they want to see and what they want done, and you start to have a bit of a relationship with the agent or the management, and it makes it very easy to kind of make them happy. But at the end of the day, right, it's they want you to they want the shows to be successful. So you tend to try to do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works. More often than not, it does work. But like I said, we forget that there is life going on. Sometimes I have spent hours wondering, like, something isn't selling the way I expected it to. And it will be a big band, or it will be somebody that I anticipated to do bigger numbers. And I just sometimes beat my head against the wall going, I don't understand why this isn't working, this time. They did X amount last time or whatever. And you just forget it's a privilege to be able to do this. It's a Tuesday, kids, babysitters, parking, people don't get off of work until 6 o'clock, the commutes. I mean, it all adds up. And again, competition, most people have to make choices. If there are 7 bands in a week that you want to go see, most people don't have the time to go do that. They don't have the time, or, probably not the income either. So, I'm always looking for an edge. I'm always trying to figure out a way to connect with, partners. That's going to become a big thing in the future, developing local partnerships that perhaps can really help connect with fans and create new experiences. It's going to be exciting post-COVID to see how some of these marketing things change, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what geographic locations does Live Nation Salt Lake cover per se? Do you have a set amount of venues that you work with, or are you working outside of the Salt Lake area? What does that look like?
Well, I personally don't now, but I guess again, it looks like I'm going to start doing some other markets. But yeah, we're not venue specific. We put the band where it makes sense. So we do shows everywhere. It really just depends on the band and how many tickets we need to move, and what they want, and availability. It's really across the board. We're all over. We do shows everywhere.
Nice.
Within Utah, again, and I've not done much outside of the state, but I'm going to start, I guess. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a challenge because I've been in the business a long time in Utah, Salt Lake, and have amazing relationships, and know some incredible people in media, and I'm looking forward to trying to do that and duplicate that in other markets. I think it'll be exciting. We kind of talked at our tea date, getting outside of your comfort zone. You can get comfortable where you just, what to do. You can do it in your sleep. And all of a sudden when you can't, that feels sort of good. It's scary, but it's good. So,
yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm really excited to learn when you're able to talk further about it, what those geographic locations might be able to cover. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Before we end this, though, I'd like to talk to you a little bit further about your band. So you're the singer of a local hardcore band called Villain. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind Villain, and what is the mission of Villain, and where do you see Villain going?
Man, it's what we are. We're old school guys, right? You've been around from the jump with all the old bands, and that's what Villain is. It's essentially all of us kids that we're going to Pompadour and Basement of Deviate. We're still playing music, It just, that's what it basically, it started. That's how it started. We just sort of, it's been what, 6 years, I think we've been around. And I think it was a concept for probably 2 years. We all sort of talked about, oh, we should do this, this group. And it took a while to, come to life, but, yeah, it finally did. And the lineup has changed slightly over the years, as it happens with bands, but no, it's incredibly fun. It's, again, there's nothing like singing. There's nothing like performing and being on stage. It's in some ways it's bizarre to me that I am still doing it, or that I've ever done it, because I probably would consider myself a little bit of a shy personality. I'm not, I would never have guessed that I would be the singer in bands, because when I'm not on stage, I'm not necessarily, I'm not really that guy. But man, it's the best thing in the world. It's so much fun to get up there and to be, man, you've been to the shows over the years. It's the same thing we're talking about, right? Like, some of those old hardcore shows that we used to go to, I mean, the greats of Salt Lake, I mean, that's what got me into it. And now we've influenced people, and you just don't want to stop. It's the best thing in the world. It's great to do that. So yeah, we write songs. We're not very quick with the output. I think we have, we just put out our third, I guess this would be considered a record, not an EP, but our third release in October of last year. We're about to play our first show in 2 years, coming up in June at Urban Lounge. We had a show I think it was March 29th of 2020 at, what's the place? What's Bricks? It's gone now. It was called...
in the venue?
It was in the venue, but it was the Greek Station or something. Anyway, I think it was going to be the last show before they demolished the building. And then, of course, again, it was March 29th or something. So that went away. So yeah, this show coming up in June is the first show. And, we're a little rusty. We haven't practiced for a year. And so we're back at it, but it's going well. And it keeps us young. It's fun. It's loud. It's pissed. It's still, the roots of what we liked about hardcore. We consider ourselves absolutely, we're going to rep Salt Lake hardcore forever, but it's beyond hardcore. I mean, you can tell everybody in the band loves music, all sorts of influence. So you can hear it in the music. It's definitely got metal. Some people think it's more metal than hardcore, which, I'm not even going to about to start that debate on what's hardcore, what's not, blah, blah, blah. But it's loud and it's pissed and it's emotive and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And you guys have played with some sizable bands too. Can you, name a couple of bands that you've really enjoyed playing with? I mean, of course, I know you enjoy playing with everybody, but who are a couple of bands that have stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, every show is great. I mean, it obviously is more enjoyable, when the crowd is active, or when you've won people over, or people are there to see you that actually are interested in you. That certainly makes it more enjoyable. But man, we got to open for Sick of It All, which was, that's one of the first 7 inches that I ever bought at Raunch Records, was the first Sick of It All record. So that was incredible. And then we got to open for Exodus, which was kind of bizarre, but that was case in point. I loved them when I was younger, and I didn't know if that crowd was really going to dig us, and they were awesome. They loved us. It was just unbelievable. Nice. And then, the biggest one was Suicidal. We got to open for Suicidal and Madball a couple years ago, and that was I mean, again, of all the things that the memories that you have, there's one. I've played a lot of shows. I've played a lot of shows that were incredible, and there were a few that I wish I could forget that I can't forget. But that is a memory. That Suicidal show, I'll never forget that.
Me neither, because not only was that lineup amazing.
Birthday.
That was my birthday, and you shouted me out.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot
I'll
about
never
that.
forget that day.
Yeah,
That was dope.
of course, yeah. No, well. I mean, for starters, we were unaware. It was at the complex, as you know, and we were unaware that it was in the big room. I thought it was in the smaller room, the 900 capacity room. So I remember rolling in for sound check or load in or whatever, and if you've been to the complex, you go in and you go to the right. If you're going to, I don't remember the room name now, the Rockwell, I believe. So I went to the right, and there's nothing in there. There's no activity. There's no equipment. And it's like, okay, what's up? So then we look to the left, and there it is, of course. It's set up, and the stage and the backdrops. And I have not had stage fright in a long time. Like, I have not, I don't know what it is, but there's something about, I get excited. I get maybe some nervous, butterflies, but it's excitement. And then the minute we start, I'm gold. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I straight up started to sweat. I'm even right now talking about it. I'm starting to get like a bit nervous. I was straight up scared. I was just straight up terrified. It was unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
It was yeah. I mean, it was scary. It was a big room, and
Yeah.
it was a big crowd, and but they were incredible. They were absolutely receptive, and they were, people sent me videos that they took, and it's always cool when you again open for, or you play for an audience that's not familiar with you, like like people like you, right? You've been around from the jump. You've always supported my bands or the bands I've been in, and there are certainly, the Villain Mob, our family friends that have been there from day one. And I don't mean like Villain day one. I mean like back when we were 18-year-olds day one.
Yeah.
Those people we know are going to support us, but it's incredible to play to an audience that has no clue that you've done this before, or that you've been part of Salt Lake, hardcore for decades or whatever, and you can win them over. I mean, that's pretty, it's something I wish everybody could experience. It's, especially from my point of view, to look out and see people, getting into it, or especially, if they know the lyrics to the songs or whatever, they're singing the songs back. Yeah, man. Again, this is just a big nerd fest about music, basically.
Dude, I love it. It's so
I'm
awesome.
sorry, all of you, anybody watched it, they've long since clicked off. It's like, yeah, we get it. Music, got it. Yeah. Yeah.
No way. Oh, no way. Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. So before I ask you my last question, I just wanted to say your band Villain has got some of the best branding out there. And was that your brainchild? Is it the band in a whole that sort of came together with the coloration and this? Yeah. What is that? Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound cocky, but I agree with you. I absolutely love it. I love the name. I love the imagery. I just love everything about it. A lot of that is absolutely Jay Wilkinson, who is the guitar player. He's a designer. He came up with the crest, and early on when we were starting the band, yeah, I for some reason had always had, I think there were a few bands prior to that we tried to get together and it didn't work out, but I had that name sort of on my to-do list, and it just wouldn't go away. And it was years where I sort of like, God, I love that name. I just love it. And I love that old gangster imagery, like the classic gangster imagery stuff. It's always been captivated by it. And when we were trying to come up with a name, I think Jay had sent over literally probably, 30 names. And I just kept going, I'm telling you, man, it's Villain. It's got to be Villain. Trust me. I can see it. And I remember driving to Las Vegas for a family thing, and telling my wife, it's like, they're not resisting Villain, and I'm selling them on this imagery. I can see it black and white. it's like I can just see it. I'm obsessed with it. I can't stop with it. And luckily they went along with it. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just cool. I think it's cool. Now, having said that, right, clearly some of the stuff, is influenced by, I love the integrity stuff. It's got that imagery to it. Clearly there are some influences in there, and certainly in the records. I'm a big fan of samples and sort of the voices that come and go and the sound effects. I think it makes it more interesting to listen to, and it creates a story. And I think it's an extension of the lyrics. But yeah, I mean, it was a group effort for sure. Jay, again, is absolutely the guy that came up with all that stuff. And now Spencer Jacobs is starting to kind of also kick it in. And all the merch and all that stuff is all Jay, which is incredible. So
that is awesome.
Crazy enough, I can't believe how much merch we sell. Like we're not the best at, promote on social media and all that. We're not really nobody really has the time or all that much energy for it, but and we do okay business on our own, but God, we sell a lot of merchandise. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's actually believable. It's cool. Like even if someone didn't even know what your band was, the merchandise itself is cool enough where they can sort of identify with a cool imagery or the logo and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I hope so. I ordered new t-shirts and hoodies and all that stuff right before that 2020 March show that got canceled. So there's going to be a lot of merch at the Urban Lounge show. So,
nice.
People dig it. Just in time for summer, everybody needs a hoodie. Nothing you need more than in 100 degrees than a brand new Villain hoodie. So perhaps a marketing misstep there, not selling it online, whatever.
I won't judge.
Yeah. Not like it's not going to get cold again. Right. So yeah.
Yep, exactly. Oh man, this has been a real pleasure. Is there anything that I may have missed regarding Villain or regarding Live Nation Salt Lake that you wanted to share, or do you feel like we've covered it pretty well?
I feel like I've overdone it. I'm sorry.
Dude, there's no sorry here.
We had a 4-hour cup of tea.
And we're gonna have another one.
Yeah, we are. No, it's been a great time to chat with you. And
oh man, this is awesome.
It's been fun. You're as I told you during our tea date, you're one of the constant, just good guys. So
thanks.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, brother. So I wanted to ask, what is one of your favorite quotes, one of your favorite songs, or both?
Oh man. See, now if I start talking about favorite songs, we're going to have another hour. Let's see. I should have prepared on the quote. I don't know. Are you a movie guy? Are you a movie fan?
Older movies and gangster movies and business movies are like my jam.
Have you ever seen Castaway? So I don't know. It's not really. I mean, it's really more of just something that I kind of remind myself of. I say it to myself on occasion when I need to be reminded, when you're having a day or when you're having a period where you're kind of maybe you're down a little bit about things, right? Yeah. He's after. I'm not going to get into the thing of the movie, but the gist of the movie, right?
Oh yeah.
And he's on the island and he comes back and he's talking about how he kind of lost hope that he was ever going to be back to his old life. And the quote is, you're going to get up the next day, the sun will come up, and who knows what the tide could bring. So the gist of it, for like when I say it to myself, I just say, who knows what the tide could bring? In other words, tomorrow is a new day, right? Whatever you're feeling today, whatever you might be dealing with today, the tide may bring something tomorrow that, changes the course. So I find that to be valuable. sometimes, you know, if you're not somebody that is always in a phenomenal mood, and you're not somebody that can always see the upside to things, that's something sometimes I have to just remind myself when I'm not in a good mood, you know, like who knows what the tide could bring. Tomorrow's
Yeah, I love it. I think that's extremely powerful.
Yeah, I have to remind myself on occasion, but it's valuable. And then as far as the favorite song, oh my God. I mean, anybody who knows me, right? It's a cheap shot. It's not going to shock anybody, but it's got to be "There Is a Light That Never Goes Out," the Smiths.
Nice.
Whatever. Say what you want about that band. God help me, the comments that you're going to get now, but "There Is a Light That Never Goes Out." It's perfection.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I could
That's
listen
cool.
to it forever. I've been scolded many times by people like, please, for the love of God, don't play that song again, please. At work, at home, at parties, in cars. Like, how many times are you going to play that song? And the answer is always one more time.
One more time.
Dylan's going to cover it, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's proving to be problematic so far.
I bet.
So we're trying to learn how to play our own songs after a year off. So it's not high on the priority list, but yeah, we're going to try to cover it. I have no idea how I'm going to do the vocals yet, but it will be fun to try. So,
oh man, that is awesome.
We'll see.
Cool, man. Well, I can't wait to see you guys back at it again. Trent, this has been, huh?
Come to the show.
Oh yeah,
you're on the guest list.
Oh, I don't expect that by any means.
The least I could do. All the things you've done for me over the years, least I can do. You want to come, let me know. You're on the guest list, and we'll drink tea in the back.
That's right. You're amazing, brother. I sincerely appreciate you coming on to the Always the Journey TV show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been great. You're an amazing guy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I'm going to have you hang tight in the green room for just a few moments, although technically I'm actually in the green room.
Sure.
And I'll wrap up the show.
Cool.
All right, brother. Man. Talk to you in a sec. All right, there you have it. Trent Falcone, a singer of Villain and also marketing director of Live Nation Salt Lake. Throw us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Like I said, I know you did. And also, please subscribe to the channel. I would sincerely appreciate it. Anyway, I really appreciate, as I say that over and over again, thank you very much for watching the show, and have yourselves a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.